Okay. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Couple of things. One, Spider-Man's back in the MCU. I was going to do this video not knowing that this morning, but now I have another reason for doing it. Another thing, I haven't been recording recently because I've just started sick form. It's not a great excuse, but I'm using it. So I originally came up with this idea a little while ago, before Spider-Man was out of the MCU. I didn't want to talk about that because developments were happening pretty much every day and it would basically instantly date the video, not that that's really any of my concern, and yeah, basically I just didn't feel like talking about it because I usually don't know enough information to begin with and I don't want to research stuff. So yeah, basically I decided, looking at things like the Instagram posts that were coming out before he was taken out of the MCU, the main one circulating, gave like rumours for Spider-Man 3, gave me some ideas of stuff that I would do if I was creating my own Spider-Man 3 with the previous two films also happening. I did a similar thing like this a little while ago, but for an origin story film. So this isn't a prediction, this is what I would do if I was in the situation of whoever directs these. So basically, some of the stuff that I saw on Instagram that I thought was quite interesting was when Peter's secret identity was revealed, I saw a post on Instagram. It was like a little cartoon thing that someone had done. Basically, yeah, it's like a Kree can take over as Peter Parker, and then Spider-Man swings by in the background, or Spider-Man is also in the same location as Peter Parker, which would basically go, yeah, they're not the same person. Now, I want to use this, but I want there to be still kind of a reason as to why some people might not believe that and still create some suspicion around Peter. There were some rumours that Daredevil and She-Hulk were going to show up in the third Spider-Man film and act as lawyers, which is what they are, for that film, which I thought was a very interesting idea, and I would love to have seen, or I would love to see, Daredevil from the Netflix ones coming into the MCU, as technically those are canon. They seem to be rehiring the actors for the villains of those. I think Cottonmouth is now Blade, and David Tennant I think has been considered for the villain of Doctor Strange. I don't think they'll recast those superheroes because people have become too attached to them, and people have said that they're in the MCU, and I think Marvel have said they're in the MCU. So I wanted to kind of bring them across into the films. They don't have to be R-rated, but they can be there, so at least they are confirmed to exist. So I got some ideas, and I haven't read this comic, but I know a bit about it, which was the original comic where the Punisher was introduced. This will play into what my idea is a little bit, but I feel like it could obviously very easily be removed. I don't know why I said obviously. Anyway, so the main plot is Peter Parker trying to prove that he isn't Spider-Man, and if he can't prove that, at least proving that he didn't murder someone. Which, even so, if Peter Parker is Spider-Man, he is Spider-Man. If Peter Parker's Spider-Man, Spider-Man being accused of murder whilst people know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker means that Peter Parker is being accused of murder. This obviously has very big consequences, like the fact he could go to prison if there isn't enough evidence to say that he isn't guilty. Also meaning he would struggle a lot with getting a job, and he's going to struggle a lot with, school. So, So working with that idea, I thought, okay, well, we can obviously have Matt Murdock show up as the lawyer. I know more about Matt Murdock, at least in the sense of the Netflix version, than She-Hulk, because I haven't seen She-Hulk in anything, and I just kind of know that she breaks the fourth wall. If she was in the film that I would do, like if she'd already been introduced as a character by the time this film comes out, and she's been introduced in her show, I would have her there. I'd maybe have her break the fourth wall. More like she might look at the camera or something. She doesn't do like as much as what Deadpool does, where he's almost constantly talking to the camera quite a lot, or making references to things in the Marvel universe. I would just have her kind of more look at the audience and talk to them, but not talk about things like, I don't know, their budget and stuff like that. But yeah, she might show up. If not, I might just have her in the background, especially if she's just big and green in the background. I think that could still work fine. I would rather go with Daredevil because I think Daredevil has a much higher chance of believing Peter because he can hear heartbeats. And that's how he can tell if someone's lying. If you lie, your heartbeat goes faster. If you don't, your heartbeat is slower. Well, normal. It doesn't go slower. So Peter saying, I'm not Spider Man, he would know that he's lying, but when he goes, I didn't kill Mysterio, he would know that Peter is not lying about that. He didn't kill Mysterio, so he knows that he's innocent. She-Hulk doesn't have this advantage and would potentially believe the video, which would be interesting to have these two characters, like Matt Murdock and She-Hulk, I don't know her real name, almost fighting in the courtroom. Obviously not like a hand-to-hand fight, but it's more of like a legal battle, I think. That could be quite interesting. I know I'm focusing a lot on these side characters. Overall, there would be a few things in the court which would have Peter involved in it, trying to work his way out of that. There'll be a lot of scenes with his lawyer, who I would probably give as Matt Murdock, trying to get evidence to prove this. Like, for instance, how Peter's face isn't actually shown in the video, his face is shown in the picture after the video. Other stuff as well, potentially, would be that he's kind of trusted onto the Avengers. Iron Man trusted him, and potentially there's stuff like that. Happy Hogan or friends would probably also vouch for the idea that he wouldn't kill. Flash Thompson would definitely be someone who would at least be very verbal about it. I don't think he could necessarily go into the courts about like defending Spider-Man, but he would probably more verbally, like just kind of outside of the courts, defend Spider-Man, going, no, he wouldn't kill anyone. Whether or not he believes Peter Parker is Spider-Man is a little bit debatable. Other stuff as well, I like the idea of J. Jonah Jameson being there arguing against Peter, trying to convict him, and potentially like throwing a lot of bad stuff towards him. Because as I said, I think the consequences for Peter Parker now basically being accused of being a murderer is a massive difficulty that's going to really implicate his entire life. Like, as soon as that's out, the police would have probably gone to his apartment with a warrant. So, like, did Aunt May and Happy Hogan get there first and try and hide all of the Spider-Man related stuff? Which is probably what I would do. I would have it that, like, Aunt May heard and just hid everything. Like, maybe sent it off to MJ, something like that, where they just kind of got rid of everything. So his other suit, his Iron Spider, and maybe any of the web shooters or web shooter formulas. Anything that would connect him to Spider-Man, they probably just try to get rid of, not throw it away, but give it to someone else who they would probably not look to. Like, as I said, MJ or Ben, maybe. Probably not Ben, because Ben is known to be Peter's best friend. MJ maybe less so, because I don't think as many people know about their relationship. I think the Punisher could be introduced in this one. The Punisher was introduced in a Spider-Man comic. In that comic, the Jackal, who's a different Spider-Man villain, convinced the Punisher that Spider-Man was a bad guy. So the Punisher went to kill Spider-Man. He eventually realized that Spider-Man wasn't a bad guy and then joined him. And the interesting, like, I did try to think what villain would be in this one. I think you somewhat need an actual villain for Spider-Man to fight, because people expect a fight to be in a Spider-Man film, and I can't completely make it a courtroom drama, which is more what I'm aiming for, and the Punisher thing would be more of a B-plot rather than the main story. Other stuff as well that I think could be done, that could be interesting, is, for instance, having a Kree disguise itself as Peter Parker, and then, like, Peter Parker goes to the court, but they're now trying to see if there's, like, Spider-Man is a separate person. So they're like, Peter Parker and Spider-Man need to attend this court session. If one doesn't show up, then, then we're going to assume that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So they have a Kree disguise themselves as Peter Parker, and then Peter Parker just becomes Spider Man, and the two can show up in the same court session. And for instance, maybe they'll be like, okay, so this is enough evidence to probably say that the two are separate people, and obviously then Spider Man would be on trial for murder, where they would obviously have also been gathering, like, Peter and Daredevil would have probably been gathering enough evidence to say that Spider Man didn't kill Mysterio. So as I said, trying to prove that the video is doctored, trying to show what really happened, like, Spider-Man's mask in Homecoming has that video thing, the baby monitor protocol or whatever. I don't know if that would be in his new suit, I doubt it, but they never confirmed that it wasn't in his suit. So they could potentially use that. They could go, oh, well, here's the footage from Spider-Man's lenses, this is what happened there. But then there's, then it's like, well, one of these videos is doctored, which one is it? So as I said, the Punisher, I feel it would be there for more of an actual, like, villain for Peter to fight, because trying to introduce another villain like the Green Goblin or, Dr. Octopus, something that wouldn't fit with this kind of style, because of the fact that it has to be more focused on Peter and him trying to get out of this situation. One thing I will say, the guy who directed Far From Home did very much limit himself as to what kind of story he can do or what kind of villain he can have. He can't really have any of the main members of the Sinister Six because none of them would have anything to do with the court session. I'm not saying that none of them can be introduced. In my idea, I think in an end credits scene or right near the end, Oscorp would be introduced, or at least Norman would be shown off. I think Norman Osborn as the Green Goblin should not be introduced at this point. He should maybe be introduced right at the end, kind of like where the Joker was introduced in the first of the Dark Knight trilogy, where there's like a little Joker card. Something like that, where the Green Goblin is there, but he's not the main villain, so it's setting him up. So as I said, I don't really think there could be any more setup for the Sinister Six apart from hinting to more villains coming. All I can say is that the Punisher would work because he's a low-level criminal once he knows that Spider-Man isn't a criminal. I don't know why I refer to the Punisher as a criminal. Well, he is a criminal, but he's a low-level crime fighter criminal, I guess. So once he knows that Spider-Man is innocent, then the Punisher would not try and kill Spider-Man, and he can kind of just disappear again. I think also the X-Men could even be slightly suggested in there. For instance, maybe they go like, they could if the Kree show up, maybe J. Jonah Jameson could say something along the lines of, now I've got to think of something. How do we know one of these isn't a shapeshifter? What about that blue lady or something like that? Where maybe he makes a suggestion towards Mystique, saying maybe one of these is like Mystique, not a Kree, but because I don't think the Kree are known. That way, there could be like that way people who are like fans of the X-Men just go, ooh, they're starting to build up the X-Men. And yeah, I can't really think of so much of a resolution. I would say that I think Peter's secret identity would be reinstated at the end, because I think it's a little too early for his secret identity to be fully revealed to the public. When he did it in the comics, he said he'd been Spider-Man since he was 15, and I don't think it said how many years it had been, but I think he was about 30-ish. Basically, my version of a Spider-Man film, Peter Parker would enlist the help of Matt Murdock. More like Matt Murdock would come to Peter Parker and try and be his lawyer. It would be mostly a courtroom drama, I guess, a courtroom film basically, where they're trying to get all the evidence together, trying to make sure that they have like the opening statements and all of that. Basically, do kind of what the show Daredevil did, but with a focus on Spider-Man. So potentially he would be able to come and go a little bit more freely, not completely freely. Maybe they do something kind of like what they did with Ant-Man and Hawkeye, where they have device on his ankle that he has to try and hack, so that he's able to go around as Spider Man. The Punisher could be there. He doesn't have to be, but for the sense of an actual villain for him to fight, so that it doesn't feel just like Daredevil, I guess. Then that could work. I know this sounds a lot more like Daredevil, but I think Peter would have to spend a lot of time in court to sort out this massive issue. And the fact is that the next Spider-Man film is really going to have to focus on the consequences of that, because as I said, he's now been, at least to some extent, been labelled as a criminal, even if the charges will be dropped, because if they're not dropped, Peter Parker is going to prison for a couple of years. So, yeah, those charges are definitely going to be dropped. This means that he may struggle to get into university, he may struggle to get a job. I think it would take a while before he is employed. Going by what's happened, I don't think he would ever be employed by the Daily Bugle, as I highly doubt J. Jonah Jameson would hire him because he hates Spider-Man, and as I said, the way that this has been done, I just don't think J. Jonah Jameson would ever hire Peter. But that's my video. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.